Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome to the show. Tonight, it is Brett the Jet in the booth bringing you the racing action here at Dover. The Monster Mile Miles himself lurking to strike. Here we are looking at him here. He is looking to grab anyone unprepared coming into tonight, as Dover, a very tricky track to master. And then to put 130 laps, these drivers going to have to string them all together to try and tame this wild place. Tonight also, we go into a cutoff race. That is right, folks. Not only are these drivers worried about this track, they're worried about the point situation as we come into a close point situation here around that special top 15 in points. Right now, Jason Wiley sits 15th in points at a point value of 280, then in 14th. So just sitting one spot to the good. We have, with 288 points, Leroy Cabinets. And then below the cutoff line, drivers trying to get their way in here to tonight. That is Christopher Pendella with 274. And David Farella with 270. So both of these drivers looking to find those valuable points when this checkered flag falls here tonight and try and race their way in, because once they get in, it is a level playing field. All points will be reset besides those who have gotten wins here tonight, such as Kenny Reel with 5 wins coming into the playoffs here. If he can pick up another, he would be up to a total of 6. Currently sitting at 5 bonus points. The next would be John Ross with 4. And then one other bonus point going to Steve Ritter. So a lot going into tonight for our 802 Riptide Radio race here at Dover. I tell you what, folks, it is going to be a blast. I can't wait to see how this turns out. As practice wraps on up here, Johnny Barker in the number 6 machine walking away with the best time here in practice. So we'll keep an eye on that 6 machine here when it comes to qualifying. See if he can repeat and lead the field to the green flag. As we get ready to rock and roll here and qualifying, our first car rolling out on track once again will be the GStone 21 machine. Actually looking like he will take it back and retry this again. So we will see who else we can pick on up here. It looks like the 44 machine of John Ross getting that thing rocking and rolling on the apron. We'll check out the Skull 44 Ford Mustang. Ross here getting that car up to sawing down the backstretch. Will float it high through 3 and 4. Get that motor wound on up, get those RPMs up, and try and get a good run coming to the green flag, because every 100th matters when it comes to qualifying. Ross diving down through 1 and 2, about a car length off of that bottom. That's where we see most of the drivers running here tonight. That bottom side can tend to get really slick, and especially if you start heating up these rear tires here tonight, that could be a recipe for disaster. Because even though from the broadcast it's kind of tough to see, these turns are very tight when it comes off these corner exits. So we will keep an eye on that. As right now, quick time going to the 82 machine of Nick Larson. Right now, Ross in 4th, now 5th with a 24 flat. So it seems like if you can crack into the 23s, you might be sitting with a top 5 here, as Ross will come across the stripe for the final time here in qualifying. Ross will improve to a 23.81. That will put him P number 2. One driver rocking and rolling to the Speedway. He was quickest in practice. We'll pick it on up here. It is the 6 machine of Johnny Barker. So another Ford Mustang. These guys might be pretty strong as the Fords sit, I was going to say, all in the top 6, but now AJ Cawthon in the 25 machine jumps up to 3rd. And same with Dave Farella. They are both in Chevy, so the Ford domination might be under fire here with the Chevys as they continue to trickle on in. But right now, looking at the 6 machine of Johnny Barker. Barker on the first time lap through 3 and 4. He will go. We'll wait till he hits the stripe here, see what kind of time that number 6 machine can grab. Looks like good enough for P number 5. A good first lap, a 23.78. Washed up a little bit there in 1 and 2. You got to wonder, did he lose that front end? Will this be quick enough? He's going to have to really drive 3 and 4 well as he goes right to the bottom. I like to see that. Trying to get every inch of track through these tough corners as Barker to the stripe. Will not be better. That was good for a 23.99. So I think turn number 1, just running that a little bit higher, did cost him a better lap for lap number 2. As we take a look now at the 4 machine, this is Brandon Guerin. Guerin putting together a pretty respectable season here in the 802 Riptide Radio Racing. Guerin lap number 1, good enough for P number 13, a 23.97. We'll see if he can find a little bit more speed lap number 2 here. Guerin will go across the stripe. He will improve a little bit, good enough for a 23.93 as he gets just a little piece of the wall there. Hopefully that car good enough to head on over to the starting grid here in a second. But looks like walking away with qualifying. Looks like the number 16 machine of Steve Ritter walking away here with the BG Graphics Pole Award. So that is a good lap from the 16 machine, as this could help out his playoff cause. Ritter, the only other driver to win besides Reel and Ross. So Ritter would like to get maybe another bonus point for the end of tonight, because tonight is a cutoff race, folks who are just jumping into the stream here. A lot going into tonight here at Dover. It is going to be a great one to watch. As we look down now, the full timing and scoring on the left side of the screen looks like 16 cars making the call for qualifying. 1 car did not qualify. That is the 30 machine of Caton. Caton not taking a lap. He will start dead last. As speaking about driver lineups, let's head down trackside and run through tonight's starting grid. Leading the field to green, as we saw just a minute ago, picking up the BG Graphics Pole Award, that is the number 16 machine of Steve Ritter. To his outside, we've talked to him a lot the last couple weeks, have put together a good run of podiums. He's starting in a good spot here tonight. It is the number 47 machine of Joseph Gravala. Then we head over to row number 2, taking up the inside. It is the 21 machine of Rob Lowell out here. And then to his outside, the first Chevy we'll find on the grid, rolling off P number 4. It is the 25 machine of AJ Cawthon. Then we head to the top 5. Starting in 5th will be the 6 car of Johnny Barker. Then we head to 6th. That will be the 52 machine of Dave Farella. 7th going to the 44 of John Ross. 8th will be the 82 of Nick Larson. 9th will be the 43 of Leroy Koblenetz. Rounding out the top 10, we'll go to the 28 machine of David Lomaga. Rolling off 12th will be Dalton Powell in the 51. 12th going to Brandon Guerin in the 4. 13th will be the 24 of Kenny Reel. 14th going to the 31 of Christian Delgado. 15th going to the 5 of Nate Coletta. 16th is the 13 of Jason Wiley. And then rounding out the field tonight will be Ariba Caton in the number 30 machine as we get ready to rock and roll here. The pace car getting ready to dive on off to the left down pit road. And then the race will fall over to the 16 machine. Steve Ritter leading the field here to green in the 16 Leaf Guard machine. We wait for Barney. He's waving the flag. We go green flag racing here at Dover for the Monster 130. The field will dive down into turn number 1. So far already cars stringing on out. First side-by-side battle will be for the 4th position, as it looks like Johnny Barker will get on around. We'll look back a little bit further now. Nick Larson trying to make a move on Dave Farella in that 52 machine. Looks like Larson will get clear. So lap number 1 in the books. Everyone keeping their car underneath them, at least for lap number 1. We'll see how many more these drivers can do as they'll head down the backstretch for another time here further on back. Looks like David Lomaga in this DTL number 28 machine on the move here. So Lomaga heading in the right direction here early. Already up 2 spots in the first 3 laps. So still strung on out for a little bit here. We see side-by-side action a little bit further back in the pack. This is now battling around the 15th position between Dalton Powell and Nate Catola. And even though these drivers might be hanging on back here, there is a big tire save strategy here at Dover. This place can be really abrasive, can get the tires really hot, especially being all in this concrete. It is very easy to overheat tires here tonight, and once that happens, it's pretty much impossible to undo because of the speeds and the G-forces you find at Dover. These cars, tires, no matter what corner they're on these race cars, are under enormous stress, and any extra heat will just stick in these tires. So these guys have to be mindful of their tires when it comes down to, especially if, as we get contact down the front stretch, contact between Nick Larson and John Ross. They will keep it facing the right direction and keep it rolling, as Ross losing a ton of spots. Looks like Larson didn't lose any, but it definitely looked like someone got loose, and then they kind of for sure met in the middle. But tough break for early in this race for 2 of those drivers. As it looks like things settling back down here for a second, we head up now to the race lead, as now the gap between them now about a car length for the race lead between the 16 of Ritter and the 47 of Gravala. I tell you what, we've been getting able to talk to Joseph a lot the last couple weeks with those podiums afterwards, and a great kid to talk to. It sounds like he really enjoys the racing out there, trying to do it every chance he can get. So awesome to see him putting the skills to test, especially on the oval side of things, as we got a new race leader, folks, that 47 machine out in front. But Steve Ritter, he is one you don't want to pick too many fights with. He is a guy that can put it together, and he put on a great performance last week at New Hampshire. So he's riding that wave, and I tell you what, he is another one. When it comes to a tough track, New Hampshire's no walk in the park, just like this place, and Ritter really likes these tough tracks. So it is going to be an awesome race for this race lead for sure by the end of this 130 laps. And you got to wonder, is Ritter doing the same thing he did last week? He fell on back, he saved his stuff, let John Ross go, take the lead, and then, like chasing down a Snickers bar, held out right in front of him. Ritter continuously just kind of kept his pace, didn't let the car fall on off underneath him, was able to chase back down that 44 machine and take the win last week. So we'll see if he can do that again. But right now, getting some more company in the rear view mirror as Rob Lowell in the 21 machine. He is now closing up on these front two. Front two had a little bit of a gap. Not anymore, as Lowell bringing some friends as well, even more back. Top 5 closing in on itself here. Now less than a second separating 5 cars out on track. Before this heats up anymore, it looks like Christian Delgado in the 31 machine getting around Jason Wiley in the 13. So that happening right outside the top 10 as we head back to the front here. Looks like 2 cars just getting a piece of the wall down the backstretch. So you can only take so many hits. You know, if you're a big fan, you know about Darlington running the wall. Well, here at Dover, you don't run the wall. You hope you just kiss it if you do get that close, and it only takes a couple hits or that just one wrong hit hitting it just a little bit too hard. And these cars can be a little bit delicate with their toe links and all the other stuff you find under these composite bodies. At least here in iRacing, it does not like damage. You get any car damaged and it seems like you're down at least 2/10 no matter what track you're going into with these NASCAR style cars. So coming off at turn number 4 here, completing lap 15, heading over to lap 16. 130 in total, so now leaving 115 left here tonight. As battle for the race lead, Ritter gets through a lot better 1 and 2. He will get back the race lead. Now Gravala having to put on the defense with Rob Lowell right behind that 47 machine. You can see that 47 not happy. That car very, very loose. He definitely got that right rear hop. Maybe that last time off of turn number 2, but for sure that time off of turn number 4. Gravala's got to be careful with these tire temps. Can't push it too much harder than he is right now, because especially this point in the race, it's only going to get worse here from where. Right here, waiting patiently, is the number 6 machine of Johnny Barker. Barker continuously trying to get around this 21 as we ride on board with Rob Lowe, looking back at the 26 of Johnny Barker. Barker closes in right on the back bumper down the backstretch. As you can hear a little bit of tire spin from Lowell, so here comes Barker now, maybe on the top side. As yeah, they'll go side by side here into turn number 1. Rob will drive it in there deep. Lowell will do a little slider line, but now that opens up the door to the inside down the backstretch as Barker will close that gap. Barker just gets a nose inside of that 21 machine. Lowell slides way up the racetrack there through 3 and 4. As, one car hard in the wall off of turn number 4 in the background. That's David Lomaga. He'll get a big piece of it. And those are the hits, folks, you want to avoid, because Lomaga got to hope to pit here sometime soon as, yeah, Lowell continues to get strung out on the top side. This could now open up the door for the 25, that black and orange machine of AJ Cawthon. So Barker will now fully clear Lowell. AJ Cawthon now looking to the inside, won't get it done. Further on back though, second pack starting to pick up some raciness. David Lomaga, we saw him hit that wall just in the background. He is falling here, so Lomaga probably hoping for a yellow sooner than later as he loses a spot to Kenny Reel. Now here comes Dave Farella. Varela trying to get a run, doesn't quite have it. But here through 3 and 4, better on this bottom side. So the 52 of Varela not quite clear. They'll drag race down the backstretch, but right behind him, Umaga gonna have a rear view full of cars as a long line will try and go around him here. As he will get a piece of the wall here once again. A tough break, and that's the bummer with damage here on iRacing, folks. You get a little bit of it like that, and it just starts making the car feel even more worse. So not only now do you have to deal with being slower with damage, now you got to deal with driving an injured car, and it is not fun no matter how much you saved up until then. Now it's kind of just out the window, and you're kind of almost hoping for a miracle with a yellow at the perfect time. Definitely a tough break for that 28 car. Luckily, has a fast repair in pits, so when they do come on down, we will see them slap on some quick repairs on that car. As we see now another spot go on by as Brandon Guerin will go on around. Here comes now the 82 and Nick Larson. So Larson having some damage here before. You can see that same right front damage to the 82. Remember, him and John Ross got together on the front stretch about lap 7 it was, and you can see his car's not handling the best for him back here now in the 12th position. So these guys starting to dice it up within them, about a 4 or 5 car group here, trying to figure out who saved the best, who thinking they're going to turn it up here, who might be trying to still save a little bit more. As we saw Leroy Coblinets try and make a move, he will get a nose to the inside. So 43 car down low, Leroy Varela up top in the 52. As Varela again stuck on the wrong side of the freight train, he will get hung out to the outside. John Ross will go on by. Here comes Christian Delgado trying to go on around as well. Looks like he will, and even bring now the Ford machine, of Brandon Guerin with him. So Varela losing about 4 spots there in a matter of 2 laps, just being stuck on the top side. So I can show you how tough it is. Out in front, Steve Ritter checking out to a 1.5 second advantage over Joseph Rivala in second, who has Johnny Barker around his back bumpers. Barker gets a piece of the wall. Barker, oh man, that is a tough break. Barker working all the way up to the back bumper of the 47 machine. Didn't quite see exactly what happened there, but definitely got a big piece of the front stretch wall there, as we'll go around the 30 machine here in a second. So that will drop him on back, but more importantly, given that car that right front damage, you got to wonder how that will affect the 6 and how can he adapt to a ill-handling race car. Then back and forth right behind him and gaining some time is the 21 machine of Rob Lowell. Lowell looking pretty good here tonight. And then AJ Cawthon in the 25 also looking strong. He will round out the top 5. Then in 6 is Kenny Rails in this DuPont number 24 machine. And then we head back to the closest battles on the Speedway. These 4 cars now make it 3, as Brandon Guerin still trying to make it 4. We'll have to see how these guys sort themselves out here on lap 34. And I was let in on a little tip. Some drivers will try and 1-stop it, and others will try and 2-stop here tonight. So we may see some split strategy depending on how much tire fall off, how much they're pushing these race cars, what they want to do. But I think we'll see the majority of them 1-stop it, because at the moment we've been green flag racing since the drop of the green. Haven't had had some close signs of some yellows, but no yellow flags yet. So these drivers probably going to opt for the one stop if we do in fact stay green. 3 sets of tires over the wall, so they have plenty of rubber to stick on the car if they need it. So now leading this pack, John Ross in that Skull number 44 machine, leading the way here in 7th. Christian Delgado, though, has been hot on his bumper for a handful of laps now. He will continue to stay right within 3 car lengths, now make it 2. Brandon Guerin losing a little bit of time to these drivers around, but he did kind of hit the lap car in a weird spot, so that may definitely not help the 4-car cause, and it looks like the 43 will complement fallen a little bit. So the drivers we needed to keep an eye on here tonight, right around that magical cut-off line, because tonight is a cut-off race. So we got to keep an eye on the points, because it determines who makes it into the playoffs and who has a chance at that $1,000 pot of prize winnings here for these drivers. So a lot going into these playoffs, a lot to ride upon. I should say a lot riding on this race here tonight, as the 15th man in, the final man in, Jason Wiley, sitting with 280 points. Wiley right now running 14th, probably not where he wanted to be running, as Dave Farella right behind Farella Christopher Pendella. Pendella only, I believe, 8 points back, but Pendella not out here tonight, so that will probably keep him out. Dave Farella in here tonight, he is running 11, 10 points back, so I believe that's enough for a difference. So we got to keep an eye on that battle between Farella and Wiley, because I think that's where we're going to keep an eye on. Nick Larson also looking out, but we got some green flag pit stops here tonight, here on lap 42. Looks like the first car do split it into thirds. The number 6 is Johnny Barker. Remember, Barker did get a piece of that wall, so he probably wants to come on down pit road, get some fresh tires, get that car repaired, and try and get back out, not lose too much time. Looks like David Lomaga getting that 28 Ford machine rolling back on the Speedway. Steve Ritter out in front by now just over a second over Gravala. As we see Ritter put Caton down another lap here out on track. We see now the 52 get it on the binders. He will get it slowed down and woe down to pit road. And that's another very, very tricky thing about this place here, folks. Not a lot of people talk about it, but it is very tough to get down on pit road here at Dover because of the speeds you can carry with the banking in the corners. You go down to that dark concrete, you get virtually no banking, no grip. So it is a very delicate act to get these things onto the transition and then safely down to pit road. And then on top of that, hitting the very slow 40-mile-per-hour pit road speed. It is a handful, a stressful time. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention one more thing. You're on old tires that have no more grip left in them. So Steve Ritter still leading the way, who we're looking at out on screen. Everyone else throughout the field, though, kind of spread on around, kind of running their own race. Kind of the closest battle here is AJ Coughlin getting caught fairly quickly, actually, by this 31 machine of Christian Delgado. So Delgado will get by. Same with John Ross and pretty much the same lap. So Cawthon losing 2 spots in 1 lap. Cawthon, his tires definitely going away. You can see it in the pace of him. He was stuck on the top side there, so it's not as bad as it's going to sound right now, but a second off the cars around him, just getting stuck on that top side there. The Cawthon definitely having that right front probably wearing off that race car. It's Cawthon that time by only half a second off the pace, so off the pace, but not as bad as a full second. So Steve Ritter this time by will complete 50 laps here tonight. That leaves 80 left to go to decide who makes it into the playoffs and who's going home. As we see here on screen, Johnny Barker trying to unlap himself in this number 6 machine. Barker doesn't quite get the run, so you have to go for another time as we see P number 2, Gravala, down on pit road. You see some right front damage to that car, so maybe Gravala didn't want to come down this time, but maybe got that damage and said, to minimize the damage loss, we got to go down this time. So the highest running car that has pitted is the 47 machine of Gravala, but maybe not, as Gravala's still down on pit road. He may have actually very much damaged the race car and maybe had to retire it. So we're going to see if maybe we can get an update of some point about him. As our best running car out on track right now is our 12th place driver, Johnny Barker. Now finds himself 1 lap down, but on better tires. Barker's last time by was a 24.22. And whereas the race leader is about a 25.56. So on new tires, you're at least a second faster. So it's going to take about 20-ish more laps to catch the race leader, which puts him right about the normal pit time. So these guys might be onto something, especially if you're really pushing the pace. As we now look to a guy just getting back into the top 10 here, Nick Larson, with some more green flag pit stops. Larson will find himself back in the top 10 for I believe the second time here tonight, currently running in the 8th position. I believe currently the first car 1 lap down, as Steve Ritter, with Gravala retiring, it looks like that puts Rob Lowell up into second, but Lowell all the way back 6 seconds here as Kenny Reel closing into what Lowell had. As we see the 82 machine, we just talked about him, Nick Larson, down on pit road. So now we're getting into the stage here tonight of the drivers trying to make the 1 stop here tonight. So with 60 laps complete, that leaves 70 to go. So you know, you can try and save a little on this second run and try and get on around, as we do see a battle for second here as Real gets the inside of Lowell. They'll drag race down the backstretch. Rob able to defend on the top side as we see the 82 machine of Nick Larson rejoining the racing surface. As Larson in that orange and white machine trying to get on by here fairly quickly, as these drivers with new tires, you can see just how much faster these things are, especially through the corners here at Dover. It is amazing what new boots can do for a feel of a race car. As we see another driver diving down pit road, one driver who can't afford any big mistakes. That are the mistakes that you make on pit road for speeding or exiting unsafely, anything like that. And that is the drivers right on the playoffs. That being, of course, Wiley, Farella, Larson, Colbinette's all right there. These guys cannot afford any big time mistakes, especially if it stays green, and the only pit stops here tonight are green flag pit stops. Looks like off of turn number 4 here, Kenny Real will complete the pass on Lowell, so Real now up to second, up 11 spots from where he started tonight, up into the runner-up spot. As we see the 21 machine heading down to pit road. Looks like he will get that thing nice and safely down pit road. Get it on the binders hard to that very slow pit road speed. You can see just how slow rolling these cars are down pit road. And that's what you got to do, as here right at the halfway point, Steve Ritter, our race leader, down on pit road. So Ritter being one of the last 2 pit drivers staying out to lead a lap at the cross flags mark will be the 24 machine of Kenny Real, halfway down, halfway home, and tonight's Riptide Radio Next Gen Cup Series race, the Monster at the Monster Mile. As we see now, oh, Kenny Real down on the track. He will somehow save it. Him and I think we'll have to try and see on track who that was, but definitely a dark car getting into Kenny Real, then making contact with Real, trying to dive down pit road. Hopefully he got down in time and was able to hit the pit road speed, but looks like when this might cycle on through, Christian Delgado will be picking up the race lead. Delgado going for some bonus points, leading a lap. As Delgado gets it on the binders here, late to the pits, misses the pit road, hits David Lomaga. Lomaga somehow hangs onto that race car. Delgado, his race might be over with that, because that is a tough break. Just tried to get a little bit too much on this very tricky pit road, and that's how Miles can reach out and just grab a hold of you and ruin a great race. As Delgado will try and get this 28 or 31 machine back down pit road this time. Looks like he will do that this time around, but Delgado gonna lose a lot of time to the cars around. When this cycles on through though, Johnny Barker with that 2-stop strategy will take over the race lead, about about 10-second gap to Steve Ritter. So this is where it gets fun, folks, for the Riptide Radio Next Gen Cup Series. being brought to you by the 802 iRacing League. Having some great racing out here on the Sunday nights, and then be sure to tune in to their other night as they run some running dirt big blocks on the Tuesday nights. And I tell you what, those things are a lot of fun. You all won't want to miss that, as Johnny Barker currently leading the way here after the halfway point. Barker, of course, lap pitted 41. He's on the two-stop strategy, excuse me, as the first car on the one-stop strategy was leading most of the race. Steve Ritter getting on and off pit road very nicely. One of the quickest times spent on pit road was a 16 machine. John Ross, another one quick on pit road. He has jumped up to the third position. As of course, we got to thank some sponsors here. That, of course, being BG Graphics with the Pole Award, Out of the Woods Crafts for Rookie of the Year, DTL Custom Graphcs, Leaf Guard as well coming on board, and then, of course, Riptide Radio, the sounds of the salt, sand, and sea, broadcasting from Ocean Drive, South Carolina. Free download for the best beach and boogie music. Be sure to tune on in, especially if you're in the area or you want to hear some more. Like I mentioned before, free to download, as we get some cars flirting with disaster here again, getting close to those walls, but no one getting a super hard piece of it to bring out our first yellow flag, as everyone still keeping the race cars facing the right direction here tonight. Rob Lowell up it back into P number 3, a 21 machine, having some great speed here. One of the late pitters here, and he says, I pitted late. I'm going to go use these fresher tires at the beginning. I'm going to go push from the get-go, and we'll see how it shakes on out. That is what the 21 GStone machine is doing right here. So first car caught a lap down is the 52 machine of Farella. And remember, Farella needs a good race here tonight on the outside looking in. Same with Nick Larson. Both these guys needing some great runs. Farella having the best, because the other guy we got to keep an eye on, Jason Wiley, back there 2 laps down in 14th. Wiley only sits 10 points in front of Farella, so it is going to be very close when it comes to the cutoff time. As also, I haven't mentioned it too much here, trying to get all my ducks in line and whatnot, but there is that Out of the Woods Crafts Rookie of the Year. That award going out to the best rookie driver, first season here with the 802 iRacing League. Right now, John Ross leading that. Of course, Ross with that hot streak he has been on, coming to an end last week with Ritter, but now having some issues early here tonight. We see Ross actually down on pit road once again, so Ross going all in on the 2's tire stop, going to try and undercut for the second stop, see what he can do. As actually we got a car kind of stopped by the pit road, and it is Ross. So Ross having some issues. We're going to see if we can see what happened to John Ross, as we see through 3 and 4 here. Oh, contact with the 28 machine heading into turn number 3. So a definitely unscheduled pit stop by Ross, as he will make hard contact to that outside wall. Brakes, you can see that right front definitely take a big impact. The 43 machine of holy smokes, Leroy Coblenetz, he will get involved as well. They both spin down into pit road, into the barrels, and we somehow stayed green flag racing through all this. Holy smokes, guys. This was a big hit, especially for the 43 of Coblenetz. He will definitely be out of this, at least out for a little bit, as hopefully these drivers were able to limp their car at least down pit road to at least get that fast repair. But big time impact for Coblenetz, who actually just sat inside the top 14 with 288. He now finds himself all the way back in 16th. This could get very, very interesting here. Oh man, folks, this is getting wild. But out in front, top 5, looking like the falling Steve Ritter, continuing to lead the way over Rob Lowell in second. Third going to Kenny Reel in the 24. Fourth is the Ford machine of Brandon Guerin. And then rounding out the top 5, Christian Delgado. But some eyes to keep an eye on. Johnny Barker just rolling off pit road, made his final stop of the night. Can Barker track down this race leader? Barker sits now 51 seconds behind, if my math is correct. 86 minus 130 is about 43 laps or so. So that is not enough time. Barker gonna have to turn on the afterburners, run at least a second faster, if not more. But the race pace leaders running 24.9s. He's gonna have to run qualifying times from here on out. Also down on pit road, the 5 machine of Nate Coletta rolling off from his final stop here tonight. So I would say about Ritter good to the end, Lowell good to the end, Reel good to the end, and Delgado for sure good to the end. Brandon Guerin might be the one close. He pitted last on 58. That should be enough, but it is going to be close for that 4 machine. As we see now the 6 trying to unlap himself at least one of these laps from Steve Ritter. He has to go around that 16 machine 2 more times to get to the race lead. So Barker has his work cut out for him. You can see the 6 car definitely has a lot more speed, but a lot of time to make up to these race leaders. Battle between 2 orange race cars here forming for the 6th position. AJ Cawthon in the 25 doesn't quite have the same pace as Nick Larson. Larson getting that damage repaired has once again felt how it feels to drive a normal race car. He is driving his butt off trying to get some time, and he's doing exactly that. Was able to reel in Cawthon now within a second, make it a quarter second here through 3 and 4. So Larson about 2 car lengths back from Cawthon for the 6th position here. Both these drivers pitted on 55 and 56, so we will probably see him down probably not till the end. So this is just 2 different strategies on when they want to push these tires around this Dover Motor Speedway. For a moment there, I think Guerin is catching Delgado here tonight, so we might need to keep an eye on this as this battle approaches the gap of about half a second separating these two race cars. We saw Johnny Barker just go on through. He will get on around with those fresher tires, but here's what the gap looks like from the roof of the number 4 machine. As you can tell, these guys struggling with these tires, trying to take it easy, trying to make sure they keep these cars off of this wall, because as we saw a handful of times here already tonight, you get that wall and you get a ton, even though you might think it might be just a light brush. Man, you are carrying so much speed through these corners and off that any sort of hit is a big time hit. Alrighty, folks, we come back here approaching lap 100 here tonight. Steve Ritter leading the way over Rob Lowell in the second position. Kenny Reel still hanging on to P number 3. We come back here with racing action here as we see riding on board with the 24 machine of Reel. Reel, of course, tonight's biggest mover so far, tied with the guy running in 4th, though, moving up 10 positions from where they started, of course. As we take a look at our race leader here, folks, Steve Ritter continuing to lead the charge in that number 16 Leaf Car machine. Of course, Ritter last week finding victory lane. For the first time of the season, Ritter trying to make it 2 in a row. A driver that went on a hot streak before him, John Ross, getting a bunch of wins in a row. Now it might be the 16 Leaf Car machine of Ritter trying to turn it up before the playoffs when it counts. This time by, though, the 16 machine will see 25 to go here tonight. AJ Cawthon will lose a spot to the number 6 machine of Johnny Barker. So Barker on that 2-stop strategy, trying to race his way into the top 5. He's currently running MP number 6. But Brandon Guerin sits all the way up here, about 12 seconds in front. And since the field's really spread out, folks, I figure I'll give you a little bit of help. Check this on out. There we go. Now we got a track map. See where your favorite driver is out on track here. As we pretty much finished up the pit stop cycles. This is about where everyone's going to be running, where the battles are going to be on track. But currently the highlighted driver will have the little lime green circle around it. Of course, right now looking at our race leader, Steve Ritter. But over here on track, about half a track behind, we got a battle forming, well, leaving itself, because that's where Johnny Barker was at. Johnny Barker up into 6. He's got to catch all the way that 4 machine on the front stretch there, about half a track in front. So we'll see if Barker has enough pace to that. Each lap he's at least a half a second faster, so he will be right to Garen's back bumper if this pace continues. Alrighty, folks, we come back here with 17 to go here tonight at the Monster Mile. So right now with Jason Wiley out here surviving, Wiley finds himself into the 8th position here tonight. So Wiley looking pretty good on points because he is in front of Farella, and it looks like Cobblenet's still down there in P number 14, so it is going to be very close on points between Farella and Cobblenet's. Tonight is the cutoff race for the playoffs for the Riptide Radio 802 Next Gen drivers. Playoffs are looking like the following. We head to Darlington March 17th, then to the big bad Talladega Superspeedway on the 24th. Then the 31st, we head to Watkins Glen. So we head to Watkins Glen on March 31st. Then April 7th, North Wilkesboro Motor Speedway. April 14th, Nashville. April 21st, they head to the Irish Hills of Michigan. Then the season finale, April 28th at the Kansas Motor Speedway. So some good stuff those top 15 drivers will be racing for as we head into 10 laps to go. Steve Ritter leading the way here tonight. This time by here at the start finish line, we will see 2 high fives from the flagman. That, of course, being 10 laps to go. 10 laps to go for the driver of the 16 machine of Steve Ritter. Now coming into single digits to go. We pick back up here at the Dover International Raceway, coming into the end of the race inside of 10 laps to go. Now this time at the stripe, Steve Ritter will see 6 laps to go. Ritter currently our race leader, then second Rob Lowell, then rounding out the top 3 podiums is the 24 machine of Kenny Reel. as 6 will now go to 5. We get the high five from the flag man there. 5 laps to go for the driver of the 16 machine. I think we haven't jumped in too many race cars here tonight. I think we got to jump on board with our race leader, Steve Ritter. Let's take a look at these lap times here at the end of the race here. Still running 25, mid 25s, but you can see a long pace off of that best lap time of a 23.9. Johnny Barker about 5 seconds back from Brandon Guerin. So looks like Barker probably just gonna run out of time. This time by though for Ritter, we see 3 laps to go. Top 4 only cars on the lead lap, then a handful 1 lap down, and even more than that. But I tell you what, folks, it is going to be a close one between Colbinetz and Farella for the last guy to make it in the points. I believe Nick Larson not going to have enough as well. I don't think that 9th place good enough to squeak on in with Farella being 2 spots back from him. But Jason Wiley, got to give props to that 13 team. Came in with the backs against the wall. He is going to run good enough here tonight to race for a championship. But here, the man that has put on a clinic, led the field to the green flag, leading the field to the white. White flag out, 1 more lap to go. Down the backstretch for the final time, and through 3 and 4, he's gonna make it 2 in a row. Steve Ritter picks up the win here at Dover and picks up 2 in a row. That is a lot of momentum he will carry into the playoffs. Rob Lowell will finish 2nd. 3rd at the stripe will go to Kenny Reel. I believe off of turn number 4, Jason Wiley doing enough to challenge for a playoff. It's going to be very close between Farella and Colbinetz. Be sure to tune in next week to find out which of those 2 made it into the top 15. But here on the front stretch, Steve Ritter going to burn it down here and conquer Miles, the Dover Monster. Steve Ritter burning it down on the front stretch for all the fans tuning on in. That lifeguard number 16 machine, Leafguard number 16 machine looking great the last couple weeks. And I tell you what, he is going to be pumped up here tonight, picking up 2 in a row. But first, a word from our commercial. Be sure to check out Premier Setup Shops as one of the best setup shops out here on iRacing, with a weekly and a monthly or pay by setup options. They have anything for you. Check it out with the link in the description. Alrighty, folks, the first driver we have dialed on up will be our 3rd place finisher here tonight. It is the 24 machine of Kenny Reel. Kenny, do you got a copy? It's Brett Jet in the booth here.
Yeah, I got a copy.
Alrighty, man. 130 laps, green to checkered here tonight. You got to be feeling a little worn out after that one.
It wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad at all.
Alrighty, man. Well, I tell you what, this place can wear you on out. It's a very demanding track. How'd you keep this car underneath you, able to cut it up through that field, up into third, and then keep the fenders on this thing till the end?
Just beginning kind of. I had a bad qualifying lap, and I knew I'm pretty fast at Dover, so I knew I could probably make my way through the field pretty quickly. But I was making my way through the field, but trying to save tire, and it kind of, screwed me over. I lost the lead pack, and was just playing catch up all race. But I'm happy with third place finish going into the playoffs here.
Yeah, that is a good bit of momentum you'll definitely carry into the playoffs here, Kenny. As yeah, looking forward to it. A wide variety of tracks you find in the playoffs. Any track you're particularly looking forward to, or at least not looking forward to in these 8 races?
I think really I'm not looking forward to North Wilkesboro and probably Watkins Glen. Every other track I'm pretty good at. I mean, I'm decent at Watkins Glen, but North Wilkesboro I feel like is gonna be I don't know. I feel like it might be a wreck fest, but who knows? You just never know anymore.
Yep, that is very true. As these things, not too many people big fan of the short track package when it comes to these next gen cars. But Kenny, going into the playoffs, you're gonna lead the way with 5 wins this season. You will head in with a 5 point advantage, and I think that gives you a little bit of confidence, leading the way into these playoffs.
Yeah, I have a 1 point lead over John, and then a 3 point lead over Steve, and then I can't remember who else has got a one win, but yeah. So for the first round, it's nice to have a little bit of a cushion. But John's really fast. Got a lot of momentum lately. Steve won the last 2 races. He's getting momentum coming into the playoffs. So I mean, we got some pretty fast drivers, that I'm worried about. But as long as we can keep it up, keep the car clean, keep it up in the front, top fives, top threes, I think we'll be sitting all right.
Yeah, I think so as well. And those drivers you named off, and including yourself, I think maybe some of the favorites to make it to that championship here tonight. So it's going to be some awesome racing between probably all 3 of those 2 drivers you mentioned, and then the third, of course, being yourself.
Yeah, if we can make it to Kansas, I feel like we have a pretty good shot. Kansas it's really got into a 1 lane track. Really, the high side is the more dominant, but you never know. People run the bottom to save tires. I mean, till we get there, you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that is very much the case. Well, Kenny, since it's my first time interviewing you here with the Turn Through Racing Network, I love to always ask the question, what does your sim setup look like? What do you got for pedals, wheel, and what are you looking at?
I gotta play on a single monitor. I got Thrustmaster load cell pedals and just a regular G29, but I raced that race with a Formula wheel on it instead of my 14-inch wheel that I put on my Logitech.
Oh, okay. Any reason why that is?
I mean, I feel like the Formula wheel that I got for it has I can make corrections a lot faster and easier since it's a smaller diameter, especially for like Dover. You want to be able to catch the car off the corner because it's sometimes you get loose really easy off the corner and it wants to snap on you. So the corrections are a lot easier where I don't overcorrect as much as I would on a bigger diameter wheel.
Huh, interesting facts. Well, I appreciate the insight there, Kenny. Always trying to learn from some fellow racers here on iRacing. But here, before we let you go and celebrate your third place finish here tonight, I'm going to go hand over the mic to you and thank who you got to thank here, either on the stream or on the car.
I just want to thank my teammates over at Piston Bro Motorsports, Bowie Esports. I want to give a shout out to Riptide Radio for sponsoring the league, DTL Customs, uh, Brandon for what he does for the league with his graphic work, Leaf Guard, and everybody, all the admins for doing what they do for the league, and you for putting on the broadcast. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, awesome stuff. Well, Kenny, have yourself a great rest of the night. Can't wait to see how that 24 machine runs here in the playoffs.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. You have a good one.
You as well. Alrighty, folks, that was our third place finisher, Kenny Real. It was awesome talking to Kenny there, so hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him some more here when it comes playoff time. But now we'll head up to our runner-up finisher. He had himself a great run, was in the hunt there for a little bit. It is the GStone number 21 machine of Rob Lowell. Rob, do you got a copy? It's Brett the Jet in the booth here.
Hey, Brett, how's your night going?
Oh, not too bad. Had a great time in the booth here tonight. You guys put on some awesome racing. How was it inside the car?
Intense. you don't get to relax at all there. And man, 130 green flag laps, no cautions. This league continues to amaze me on the way guys just drive their cars and show respect to each other.
Oh yeah, we had some awesome racing. We were catching a lot of it on the broadcast here, Robin. I started off asking Kenny this. Maybe I'll ask you. How are you feeling after 130 laps? This place, like you said, is intense, very demanding. I mean, it has to be at least a little bit of a workout, even on the sim side of things here.
Yeah, this is one of the tracks I really crank my force speed back up, so it's just about clipping. So you got to be able to feel that right front in the corner to know when you're overworking it. So yeah, my shoulders have a little bit of burn to them right now.
Oh, I bet they do. That is awesome to hear. You know, getting a little workout in with some fun sim racing. But Rob, hopefully all smiles here, finishing second here tonight, getting some good momentum heading into these playoffs. I mean, I bet you have some big hopes when it comes to playoff time.
Yeah, I got a couple of really good tracks in there for me, and this one stings a little bit. Steve went out back and got a twitch off the tree and came out here and whipped all our asses with it. What do you end up with, a 10-second lead there, close to 10 seconds at the end. I gave it all I got, and I had nothing for him, and I thought I had a really good long run car. So, congrats to Steve. Congrats to Kenny for top three. It was really interesting there to see how the strategies are going to play out. I know some guys were on a two-stop strategy. I was on a one-stop. Steve and I actually talked earlier today through text messages about, hey, do we think the two stops viable or not? And he thought the delta was too much to make up, and I was leaning that way. So we went out there, and I just kind of stuck to the game plan of one stop in it, and it worked out. It came out second place, so I'll take it. Got a little momentum going into the playoffs. Not sure where we go next week. Maybe it's Darlington.
Yeah, I believe it is Darlington next week.
I'm pretty sure we'll have some cautions at Darlington.
Yeah,
that's a tough track.
That is a very tough track, and I would have to believe so as well. As yeah, you mentioned before that strategy. I think I was watching Johnny Barker when he came out of pit road for the final time. I think he had to make up a total of 50 seconds in 50 laps, and you guys as the leaders were running definitely fast enough that it definitely wasn't possible. I think Barker was able to get up to 6 there by the end.
Yeah, I think if you were someone that was going to run the back half of the top 10, and you knew that, by lap 40, then the two-stop strategy was the way for you to go. It got you something on those guys that you had been racing against. But if you had a car that could contend for the win, clearly the one stop was the way to go. Yeah, and Johnny's a teammate. We're on the Discord together. We're talking, and we talked earlier today about it, and he said, hey, he goes, I think everyone's going to one stop it, so I'm going to two stop it and just try something different.
Has ended.
Hey, you don't know until you try.
Exactly. Well, awesome job here again, Rob. That was awesome to see. And I mean, we kind of mentioned it before, any tracks particularly that you really like for these 8 playoff races, or maybe one that you're not looking so much forward to.
The one I'm really looking forward to is Nashville. Love Nashville, love Michigan. If I had to say one that I wish wasn't in there, it'd be Watkins Glen. I hate road courses, but I'm the one that put the schedule together, myself and Dave Lamaga. So I got myself to blame for that, but we figured, hey, we got a short track, we got a super speedway. and we got a road course in there, so it kind of evens it out for everyone.
Yeah, that it does. So it is going to provide some awesome racing because, like you said, Rob, a lot of different tracks, a lot of different disciplines can come forward. And it seems like when you get on a hot streak in this league, man, do you have the advantage? I mean, we saw it the last couple times now, and looks like who we'll be talking to in a second, Steve Ritter, is on his right now.
Well, the funny thing about Steve is him and I are neighbors here, and I posted a couple weeks ago. I posted the point fund, and he forgot all season we're racing for money, and he hadn't really been practicing a lot and putting much time into it. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, we're racing for real money in this league. I'm gonna start practicing." And I think the last 2 to 3 weeks we've seen the result for that. So maybe Steve will get a bout of amnesia and forget we're racing for money and stop practicing again, but I highly doubt it.
There you go. It's awesome stuff. Well, Rob, appreciate always a great time talking with you, man. But before we let you go and wrap up the runner-up spot here tonight, of course, I got to hand over the mic because I know you got a lot of people to thank out here, either watching at home or on the car.
Yeah, I want to thank Riptide Radio for sponsoring our series. I want to thank Out of the Wood Crafts for sponsoring the Rookie of the Year stand-ins. DTL Customs for doing the throwback race paints this season, and doing the weekly promo posters. Brandon Grand and his graphics, BG Graphics, does wraps for iRacing, and he actually did a poster for our Dirt Modified League that's also on Turn 3 Radio and on Turn 3 Network with Roger Month in the booth. Who else am I forgetting here? Leaf Guard has put some money up at 3 of our races for the Pole Award, cash prizes for that. Brandon does a iRacing credits. Riptide Radio also does iRacing credits for Brandon Finisher from 6th place back each race. And then my car sponsors, GStone Motors, Stone, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Gardner's Trading Post. And then just want to give a shout out. Looks like 3 Vermont guys finished in the top 5 tonight. Myself, Brandon, and Steve. So Vermont kind of represented the top 5, so that's kind of nice. We're a little out of the ways up here, and good to see that.
Yeah, that is awesome to see, Rob. And yeah, appreciate that fun fact about you Vermont boys. Like you said, putting on a show here at Dover, not an easy track. And you guys showed it who's boss, especially going green flag. Man, awesome stuff. Well, Rob, you have yourself a great rest of the night, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you some more when it comes playoff time here.
Yeah, you too, Brett. I want to thank you for jumping on board the last half of the season and broadcasting the races. Great to have you back, doing an awesome job, and look forward to having you for the long-term future.
I am as well. As Rob, have yourself a great rest of the night, and we'll catch you here around.
Yep, have a good night.
Alrighty, folks, that was our second place finisher, Rob Lowe, in the 21 machine. Then we head to our race winner. That, of course, being the 16 machine of Steve Ritter. Steve, do you got a copy? It's Brett the Jet in the booth here.
I do, Brett. How you doing?
Pretty good, but I think you are doing even better, Steve. 2 in a row at 2 very difficult tracks. How are you feeling here tonight?
I'm feeling pretty good. We're gonna have to. You came out as the announcer, and I keep winning races. We're gonna have to make this a regular thing.
Yeah, I think so. As this combo definitely working well for the 16 Leaf Guard machine. I mean, man, both nights having a lot of speed, especially long runs, and luckily for you having green to checkered both nights. I mean, man, that is some awesome work you're putting on.
Yeah, thanks. The car was really good tonight. Team did a great job getting it set up, and yeah, just we were able again. It was kind of the tracks are so different, New Hampshire and Dover, but as coming out of the corners, it's the same thing. As just get those tires straight as early as you can, and you'll be able to power off. And that's kind of what we figured out tonight, and made it go forward.
Yeah, you guys did exactly that, and kind of similar to the New Hampshire race, Steve, letting a second place go, use up their stuff, and then you power on by later in the race and then check on out. I mean, man, I feel like, of course, different tracks, but almost the same storyline for the 16 machine.
Yeah, I think that's an experience and an age thing.
As I think maybe a little bit tire saving too. I don't know how you feel on short run versus long run, difference in pace and how you push the race car, but I think the 16 machine, if these long runs continue to happen, I think you're going to be a big force to reckon with. How do you feel about long runs?
Yeah, definitely we are better on a long run, and obviously the last two races have kind of suited us perfectly for that. But yeah, short run speed we're decent. I just when I can get into a rhythm and really get the car working and into that rhythm and coming off the bottom like that, we're way better when we're doing long green flag runs.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that is your strength here. So, coming into the playoffs, 8 rounds, a lot of different tracks, but you're coming in 2 in a row. I mean, tell us about that momentum and how that helped your outlook. Coming in at least with 2 bonus points, I believe that puts you third in points as well.
Yeah, it was nice to get those two bonus points, a couple wins at the end of the regular season. Kenny and I were kind of joking about that when we were waiting. There is a lot of momentum now, right? We're a little bit, instead of not doing so well in the last couple races, doing well, you got motivation to practice a little bit more and make sure everything's ready to go. And so, yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah, before that, you mentioned practice, but in our last interview, we talked with Rob. He said you've been putting in a little bit more time. Are you at liberty to say about how much time or maybe some laps you're putting in? Because it seems like these drivers might have to put in even more than you.
Yeah, no, I don't mind telling. I don't, it's not a lot. It's an hour, maybe a couple nights a week. But I'll do a fuel run just to figure out where the car's at and what it's going to do, after 20 laps. You know what I mean? Seems you get these longer green flag runs, and sometimes if you don't practice that, the car can really change. And if you're not ready for it, it'll go sideways on you quick. But yeah, that's pretty much all we're doing. It's just a couple extra hours a night, really figuring out what the cars are going to do on that longer run and setting it up for that.
Alrighty, well, appreciate the extra insight. If some drivers tune on in here late, you get a little tidbit from probably one of the favorites coming into these playoffs. I think you, Steve, John Ross, and Kenny Reel picking up multiple wins in the regular season. I think you guys are going to be a tough group of three to beat. I mean, of course, those guys, any one of those guys or anyone else you're keeping an eye on for these 15 car playoffs?
Definitely those two. I got my hands full with those two. I don't know how hard either of them were racing at the end here. They were already in the playoffs. A couple extra bonus points for them both. So we'll see what happens next week. But Rob Lowell, Johnny Barker, both those guys have been right up front of me. Rob was second tonight. I think he was third last week, or he was in the top three. I know that. So those guys have been really putting in some time too, and it's starting to show up front. So if they happen to put one together in the playoffs, they could win one real easily. But
yeah, that they could. As I think it's going to be a wild playoffs, a lot of different tracks here. So, Steve, we won't hold you too much more. I know you got some partying to do down in Victory Lane before it's all said and done. So, before we let you go, that down here in Victory Lane here tonight, who do you got to thank either tuning into the stream or, of course, on this 16 machine?
yeah, everybody obviously on the Piston Broke team, Kenny, Brendan, Frank, Jason, everybody, they do a great job every week helping us out here and getting on the radio and cracking jokes and stuff. Obviously, you guys for broadcasting these races, you guys do a great job. Riptide Radio for sponsoring the series. Thanks to Rob just for putting up with all our driver bullshit. He puts up with a lot of our crap, and he does a good job with that. So just thanks to everybody that makes this happen.
Alrighty, Steve. Well, always a pleasure talking to you. Glad we could do it another time here, and I'm sure it won't be the last with some of these tracks in these playoffs. So you have yourself a great rest of the night. Go celebrate it, and we will definitely pick it on up. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again playoff time. Steve, have yourself a great rest of the night.
Thanks, Brett. You too, man. Take care.
Alrighty, folks. That was Steve Ritter down from Victory Lane here for the second week in a row. So we will now head over and get to our race results. Steve Ritter picking up the win. Rob Lowell in second. Third going to Kenny Reel. Fourth going to Christian Delgado. Fifth is Brandon Guerin. Sixth is Johnny Barker. Seventh, AJ Cawthon. Eighth is Jason Wiley. Ninth is Nick Larson. 10th is Dave Farella. 11th, Dalton Powell. 12th, Nick Coletta. 13th is David Lomaga. 14th is Leroy Koblenetz. 15th is Ariba Caton. 16th, John Ross. And 17th, Joseph Gervala. And folks, if you tuned in this late, we got a good one for you here, because here are your 15 drivers in the playoffs. We have Kenny Reel, John Ross, Johnny Barker, Steve Ritter, Frank Zigan, Brandon Guerin, Christian Delgado, Nate Coletta, Rob Lowell, AJ Cawthon, Dalton Powell, Ariba Caton, Leroy Koblenetz, Jason Wiley, and Dave Farella all make it in. Drivers getting bumped out: Eli Raposa, Nick Larson, and David Lomaga all just barely missing the cut, but those drivers not all out of it, because they can race for a free entry for next season. As that will do it here tonight from the Riptide Radio Next Gen Cup Series with the 802 iRacing League. Of course, we got to thank all the other sponsors, that of course being BG Graphics, Out of the Woods Crafts, DTL Customs, and Leaf Guard. I have been Brett the Jet in the booth from Turn 3 Racing Network. Be sure to tune on into Turn 3 throughout the week, as we have a lot of great broadcasts, a lot of great series, and a lot of great sim racing to cover. Also, it would be so awesome of you to at least check out Premier Setups with the link in the comments. At least check out the page, see what they have to offer. You don't have to get anything, but at least use the link to check it on out. I will catch you guys on around next week for the start of the playoffs. But it has been Brett the Jet in the booth, and I just flew by you. Have a good one.